Displaced People in Action, it's a relatively young and smaller charity, having been established about 12 years ago, and primarily set for providing support to refugees and asylum seekers, and also the relief of the hardship and the needs that they face, and there have been a series of initiatives that we have taken up and implemented and delivered services in the last 12 years. We don't work alone, we work with a range of agencies here, statutory and in the voluntary sector. There are many organisations that we work very, very closely with. Welsh Refugee Council, for example, the British Red Cross, the asylum support groups, Asylum Justice, on the statutory side, the local council, Job Centre plus Career Wales. In future, yes, I do feel that the future refugees could be climate change refugees, who just can't sustain their livelihoods in their home nations and they have to move. And when they try to settle in here, they may not fully understand the implication and the impacts that the climate change could have even here, actually, because it's very different. There it impacts them directly because of livelihoods. Here it may not do so. So there is all the more reason actually to get involved in this and take the awareness raising forward in terms of how it could impact their lives even here in a developed nation. And then these are the issues that they have to deal with here. Their housing problem, education problem for themselves, for their children. And this prevents them to actively engage with the climate change agenda actually, because that's then in the back burner. And somehow we have to bring that forward and say, while you are taking action, while you are having this new learning, make this part of your new learning and rebuilding process of your lives here, and see how you can cope better with the climate change. And these are people who wouldn't have the networks of support for them that comes from families or extended kinship. So these little things, just to get them closer to where they are better informed, and they can, when the time comes, they're prepared to act, basically. So, which is very encouraging actually, and our users, they really enjoyed being part of those initiatives actually, rather than sitting in the classroom and learning English all the time. We call it a green team, but it's more than that actually. And we formulated a draft policy around sustainable development and climate change. And we had a series of meetings, discussions within teams, staff meeting, and then eventually our directors approved the policy. And not only it's a policy, but it also sets out the agenda for individual staff members and little projects that we deliver. So it sets out the role for the chief officer, it sets out the role for the project managers, for the project workers at the front end, and also it provides a moral obligation on us to enhance environmental responsiveness of our end users, the service users. So basically it provides a framework for us to then work with and towards the goal that are set out in the policy.
Take is the principal body in Wales which works to promote women's economic development. We achieve this through working with government to influence policy. We also work with businesses and organisations to influence changes in culture and the way they work and they practice with their employees. And we also work with individual women to help them access, retain and progress in employment and enterprise. Global warming presents greater challenges for women as a result of their roles in society, which is why we're particularly interested in this area. Statistics also show that women are actually more concerned about climate change than men, 84% compared to 64%, and they are particularly concerned that the effect climate change is going to have on future generations. In many families, women are responsible for still making most of the buying decisions. That means they have the power to influence manufacturers and producers of environmentally friendly projects as well, and make a change with their culture, and also influence the children, and also support a different way of thinking in the family. think the day-to-day operations are already changing. The way we work in partnership with organisations, the way we design projects, we always now take into account how achieving the outcomes, how is that going to be met in a sustainable way? How is that going to minimise environmental impact, and how can we educate and lead by example? Figures have also shown that investment in a low carbon economy can also contribute to the new indirect and indirect jobs. And overall, a stronger climate framework will result potentially a net increase of 6 million European jobs in 2020, and we want to see and make sure women have the right skills to be working in those industries. Transport actually accounts for 29% of the UK's carbon emissions, and changing the way we work can reduce the need for a car, and looking at the concept of how we work and where we work and what is a workplace. For Quaritech, these challenges faced by employees and related to climate change are likely to lead to an increased demand for flexible working and remote working support, and working in a more sustainable way. We've done an internal case study which looked at the impact of allowing one member to regularly work from home and not travel always back to the office. And we worked out over the course of the year this is actually preventing 2.28 tonnes of CO2 being released into the atmosphere, and that would take 11.5 trees to offset that carbon. So that was a really good example, plus actually saving us the expenses of that person travelling as well. So we were really pleased to see that by embedding some good working practices we've saved as well. We've taken direct action in Quaritech to look at how we manage our resources and how our impact on the climate and how we can reduce that. Our resources manager regularly reviews our energy and our water supplies. We also look for the most competitive rates. She then distributes information to all of our staff about how to conserve resources, and that's really important. And also there's a cost saving to that as well. We have displays across every office right the way throughout Wales, demonstrating easy ways to reduce waste, and also we have a policy on local procurement to reduce travel and where we source our goods from. Each office has recycling points and a coordinator as well who's responsible for managing that. We've embedded looking at climate change right through our policies, and we're currently going through the Green Dragon Standard, because we not only think it's important to say what we're doing and live it through our staff, but actually show externally that we sign up to good environmental practices and addressing climate change. So we also, through our consultancy services that we do with business, we always talk about how changing the way you work, for example, can have a positive impact on climate change. And I think that, as well as supporting the equality agenda, that has a real positive impact, and it's another reason, another business driver for people to engage, particularly with the work that we do. And we've also arranged for training for our whole organisation on climate change and sustainable practices, and that's not just about how we do that at work, how we do that at home, and how you balance both. And it was really well received, and we've now taken that back to our offices and an action plan within each office as well, which is great.